Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Then they came to Capernaum, and on the Sabbath, Jesus entered the synagogue and taught. The people were astonished at his teaching, for he taught them as one having authority and not as the scribes. In their synagogue was a man with an unclean spirit. He cried out, "What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." Jesus rebuked him and said, "Quiet, come out of him." And even the unclean spirits, and they obey him. His fame spread everywhere throughout the whole region of Galilee. The Gospel of the Lord. I think it's easy for us in our modern world to dismiss stories of the devil. We read stories like in today's gospel and we try to explain it away. Maybe there's mental illness going on there, something else going on there we don't understand. And depictions of the devil that we see in cartoons or in jokes, dressed in red with horns and a pitchfork, well, that's clearly fantastical. I heard a joke this week about two men from Michigan who died, and sadly they found themselves in hell. And the next day, the devil came over to make sure that they were sufficiently miserable. But these two men seemed to be having a great time in hell. They were warming themselves by the fire, and they were dressed in coats and hats and gloves. "What's going on here?" the devil said. They said, "Well, we're from Michigan. It's cold. It's the land of ice and snow. This is a very welcome turn in the weather. Thank you very much." Well, the devil said, "I'll show them." He went over to the thermostat, and he turned the temperature in hell up. And the next day he came back to these two men, and they had taken their coats off, but they were still enjoying themselves, warming themselves by the fire. "This is even better than yesterday," they said. "This is like being in Florida for the winter. Can you turn it up even higher?" And the devil said, he was getting really angry at these two men. And so he said, "I'm going to turn the temperature all the way up, as high as it can go." And he turned it up as high as it can go. People were sweating and sweltering. And he went back to these two men, and now they were cooking sausages over the fire and drinking beer. They were having a great time. Well, the devil was so angry that he couldn't see straight. But then he realized, well, maybe I'm taking the wrong approach with these two men from Michigan. If they like the warmth, maybe I'll turn the temperature down. I'll turn the air conditioning on. Then it'll be like the coldest winter in Michigan. And so he went and turned the temperature all the way down in hell. And the next day, everything was frozen solid. There was snow everywhere, icicles hanging from all the roofs. And he get back to these two men, and now they were cheering, and they were jumping up and down. And "What is wrong with you two?" he said. I turned the temperature up, and you're happy, and I turned the temperature down, and you're happy." "Well, don't you know," they said, if hell is frozen over, that means that our Detroit Lions have made it to the Super Bowl. Well, hell may indeed freeze over later today, as the Lions are just one win away from the Super Bowl. But how about the devil? Is he just a kind of a comic figure to laugh at? In the gospel today, Jesus seems to take the devil very seriously. And the devil takes Jesus seriously. "What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us?" Jesus and the devil seem both very aware that they are locked in a battle and that one of their kingdoms is going to be destroyed. Jesus reveals that the devil is real. He's not a comic figure dressed in red, but he's a fallen angel. He's a spiritual being, an intellectual being. He was a fallen angel that in his pride rebelled against God, and he tempts us to join in the rebellion. He's fallen from grace. And, for all of us, behind, many of the ideas and ideologies that we see in our world today, maybe the devil's at work in some of that. And Jesus is revealing, okay, we're in a battle here. Every day we're in a spiritual battle. Our opponent is Jesus' opponent as well. We're on Team Jesus. This is great. But there is another team, and only one of those teams can win. It's great that the Detroit Lions are doing so well as a team, but our home team, the Patriots, they're not doing so well. They had a really bad season. We weren't even competitive half the season, and that's a real fall from grace. For 20 years, the Patriots seem to win every year or be in the Super Bowl every other year, and now we've fallen so low, it's awful. And the final nail in the coffin of the Patriots dynasty was when our great coach, Bill Belichick, moved on from the team at the end of the season. But before we move on from the greatest run in sports history, maybe we should look back, take one last look back at Bill Belichick and the Patriots and say, well, they were really good at defeating their opponents. Maybe we can learn something from them about how we can defeat our opponents in the spiritual battle that we are in. And the first lesson I think we can learn from Bill Belichick and the Patriots is to make sure that you're fighting the right opponent. There was a famous game back in 2014 where the Patriots lost to Kansas City really badly. They were blown out, 41-3. And the second half of the game, Tom Brady was benched. And there was all this controversy in the media afterwards. Is Tom Brady all washed up? He's 37 years old. And is the Patriots dynasty over? Is Bill Belichick going to fire his quarterback? And at the press conference after the game, Bill Belichick was getting all these questions from reporters, but he only had one answer to all the questions. We're on to Cincinnati. We're on to Cincinnati. It doesn't matter what happened last week. It doesn't matter. We're not going to fight each other here. We have one opponent to pay attention to, and it's the opponent that we have in our next game, next Sunday. That's all we have to worry about. And I think the devil tries to play the same tactic with us. He often tries to distract us from the real battle going on in life. He loves controversy. He loves division. He tries to get Christians to fight one another in their churches, to fight one another in their families, to fight this group, this idea, that idea. It's all a distraction from what the real battle that's going on within. I think the devil, his favorite tool maybe is the media, because the media loves division and controversy. It profits off it all. And that's the tactic that the unclean spirit tries to take with Jesus today. He tries to get him embroiled in all the controversies of the day, all the big questions of the day. Who is this Jesus? Why did he come? Should he really be curing people on the Sabbath? How about the Pharisees, the scribes? Those are your enemies, Jesus. Or maybe it's the Sadducees, or maybe it's the Herodians. Jesus remains laser focused on the one enemy in front of him. Quiet, come out of him. I'm not going to fight this group or that group. I'm going to fight the enemy that's right in front of me. And the same thing can happen in our own spiritual battle. Sometimes we get distracted by many things, but realize that we have an opponent. Actually, we have really three opponents, according to the Christian tradition, that we're really always fighting the world, the flesh, and the devil. It's not always just the devil. We can't always blame him for everything. The devil made me do it. Actually, we have the world around us with its false values all the time. We have our own weak flesh. Sometimes when we try to fight sin, we get sabotaged from within by our own fallen desires, our own inclination to sin. And then, yes, there's the devil. The devil is prowling about like a roaring lion, the scripture says, looking for someone to devour. Resist him, solid in your faith. If we resist these opponents, realize that we have these opponents, we're halfway towards winning the battle already. Now, the second lesson that we can learn from Bill Belichick and the Patriots is that we can't fight only on Sunday. Long before Sunday, long before game day, Bill Belichick has prepared his team well by practicing all week long, by watching film, by going through every play, by being prepared for every possible scenario, so that when game day comes, half the battle has already been fought. And the same thing has to be true of our spiritual battle as well. It can't just be about Sunday. Yes, going to Mass on Sunday is an important discipline to have, but it's not enough, because it's what we do throughout the week before we get to Sunday that matters. This is just our celebration of the victory here today. But the battle has been fought all week long. All week long, we've been trying to hold on to our dignity as children of God. We've been trying to protect the unity of our families. We've been trying to persevere in prayer and in virtue. And it's important that we have daily disciplines in our life, the daily disciplines of prayer, of having good community around us, of having ways that we give of ourselves and are generous to others. All those things are very important. There's a limerick that an Irish priest taught me once, and it goes like this: Paddy Murphy went to Mass. He never missed a Sunday. But Paddy Murphy went to hell for what he did on Monday. It really matters what you do during the week as well. And look at Jesus. Where is Jesus when he's having this confrontation with the unclean spirit? He's in the synagogue on the Sabbath. He had that discipline in his life. Every Sabbath, he was in the synagogue. And every day, he was in prayer with the Father. And he had good community of the apostles around him, so that when the confrontation with the evil one came, he was right where he needed to be. And finally, the third lesson we can learn from Bill Belichick and the Patriots is, I'm always forgetting this one. It's very important. It's don't be discouraged by defeat. You know, we can often get discouraged. I think that's the devil's greatest tactic, is to get us to think we're already defeated. You know, you've sinned, so you might as well just keep sinning. Or you haven't even sinned. You've just been tempted, but, you know, you might as well give up. Or, you know, God couldn't possibly love you. God couldn't possibly forgive you. All those crazy thoughts and ideas that are not from God. Don't think you're already defeated. That great game in 2014 when the Patriots were defeated so badly, and the on to Cincinnati game, it looked like they were totally out of it. But you know what? The Patriots went on to win 3 of the next 5 Super Bowls. They were not defeated whatsoever because they kept persevering, they kept going, they kept fighting. And the same thing is true of us in our spiritual battle. We can only be defeated if we give up, if we stop fighting, if we stop trying, if we stop striving. There were many times when Jesus felt defeated, when he felt exhausted, when he was discouraged by the fact that people he was trying to reach weren't listening. And then there came the time when he seemed ultimately defeated on the cross. But all of that was just sowing the seeds for the ultimate victory of the resurrection. And that's the victory we share in. That's why we can laugh at the devil and laugh at hell and laugh at death. Not because it's not real or because we shouldn't take it seriously, but because we've been victorious in Jesus Christ. O death, where is your victory? O death, where is your sting? In Jesus, we can always be victorious if we continue to trust in him. And so, yes, maybe we are defeated in life by sin from time to time, but go to confession and receive forgiveness. Forgive others in your life who have hurt you. Leave it in the past. Take authority over areas of your life where, in the name of Jesus, in your prayer, renounce spirits of anger and lust and pride and envy and loneliness, and remember God the Father's faithful love for you. Even when you're unfaithful, God is faithful. In all these ways, we begin to take back areas of our life that have been conquered by the enemy, and we move forward to the victory that Jesus has promised to those who are faithful. And so 3 lessons we can learn today. You know, don't get discouraged by defeat. Don't fight only on Sunday, and make sure you're fighting the right opponent. Who knows, if the Detroit Lions learn those 3 lessons, maybe they could win the Super Bowl in a couple weeks. And if we learn those 3 lessons, we too can emerge victorious in the battle that we are in, the battle that God fights with us.